sculpture was a community project, and they called for artists to submit proposals for the work. And there were 15 artists, as I recall, that submitted proposals. And after a process of elimination, I wound up in the final four, which thrilled me. And after that, the selection boiled down to my proposal. One of the things that was required, like all public works, is a prospectus. And the prospectus called for something that showed somehow the character of the neighborhood. And the thing that I noticed about this community was the amount of wildlife that lives within the community with the rest of us. And with the waterfront, Lake Union, you had all of the marine animals and birds and fish. So that expanded the numbers that I could use. And so I decided to represent all of the animals that lived in Wallingford, and then tossing around ideas. It was just kind of like a storm cloud raining animals, and that's how it became Animal Storm. And that's how I arrived at the design that you see here. I like the idea of the totem. It's a Northwest thing, but on top of that, being on a corner like this, it can't take up a lot of room. It can't sprawl out all over the place, so a vertical thing seemed to be the most appropriate to me for the space that was available. Well, starting at the top, that's our cat, our family cat, Mama Cat. Very inventive name. And Mama Cat had a split in the top of her ear, which you could see on the top of the sculpture, the cat there. And when I was doing the drawings for the piece, the cat kept walking across the drawing table, as cats do. So on one of the final times I kicked the cat off, I told her if it stayed off of the drawing table, I'd put it on top of the sculpture. and I did. And that's why the cat's on top. And then after that, I think just whimsy or kind of placed animals on after what would be expected, flying birds and things like that at the top. Well, the piece is 16 feet approximately tall. The bottom 12 feet is bronze and a durable material, which was cast by Robert Mortensen, who also lives in the neighborhood, and he had the Robert Mortensen Foundry, which was on Westlake at the time. And so Robert Mortensen, he did the casting. The top is the cloud section is made out of aluminum, and I got some criticism for using mixed materials, but it's art, you know. You shouldn't have to be tied to a fixed regimen. So, and it seemed to, for me, it worked out fine. Of course, art is controversy, you know. Some people like it and some people don't, but that's the way it is with art. So you have to expect that.
Sure.
Well, a style that I got into with my other sculptures, I always liked wildlife, and I do figurative works, and so I was attracted to wildlife. And in terms of the Fisherman's Memorial, that is also a vertical piece, but when you're standing at the terminal looking at that work, in the background are masts and downrigged poles that are up in the air. So it's a very vertical place once you're there, and the boat's of course horizontal, but when you're standing there, there's a very vertical feel to it. And that piece there is 29 feet, and animals represented on the base of it are all of the fish that the fishery goes after from the Port of Seattle. So that's why the fish are on there, to represent that. And then the top has a heroic figure of a fisherman and looking over his shoulder towards the Ballard Drawbridge, sort of a safe return glance. And it gets more complicated, but that's the instant version. I live about a mile from here. I live in the Wallingford neighborhood. I'm actually originally from Phoenix, and I came to Seattle in '66, and I moved into the Wallingford neighborhood, and this is where I lived the entire time. And my wife and I have a home and we built it ourselves. I'm also a carpenter and in construction, so that was just part of, and I served an apprenticeship in Phoenix before I came up here, a full old-fashioned type 4-year apprenticeship. So it was made sense that we built our own house, and we built it together. We took a year off, and so we are longtime residents in the neighborhood, beginning back in '67, actually. I pass the sculpture a lot because I exercise bike ride, and my bike ride trail comes around this corner. I start at the bottom down by the lake where I live. A lot of uphill cardiovascular stuff. Hopefully it'll pay off. And I come around this corner, and then I goes back down. So I see this work a lot. I see a lot of people looking at it, and I see a lot of people not looking at it. But one of the things that struck me the most years ago, and I've told the story many times, but I came by, I was driving somewhere, and I saw a group of children, and I stopped to, this was shortly after the work was installed. And the children, I got out of my truck and walked over just to watch from a distance, and I realized that these children were blind. It was a class of grade school students who were blind, and their teachers brought them here, and they were feeling the animals on the sculpture and identifying them. But one of the complaints they had about it was that the raindrops on the work some of them are stylized slugs, which are very soft to the hands, but the other are kind of a wedge shape, and that's harsh on the hands, and they didn't like the feel of the raindrops. And so they liked everything else, but they didn't like the harsh feel of the drops on this. So I've always regretted I didn't make them all slugs after that. Most parents that have small children like it because their kids like it. It's kid friendly. It's animals. It's you know it's tactile. You can touch it. You can climb on it, and kids like it a lot. And if the kids like it, their parents usually give me a nod in the right direction. So I kind of like that. Well, it's bronze. If they don't melt it down and make a cannon out of it, this thing, and if it's taken care of, it'll be around for a long, long time. So it is a material that'll go the distance if it's taken care of. This one was really sort of tested my metal, you might say, because first of all, it's monumental. I had never done anything like this before. Oh, I made jewelry and things like that. So casting bronze works that are large like this, it's just a matter of scale. And once I started, I did it straight through to completion in 4 months is what it took to do this. And from the conception and the drawing table to the finished installation. And when I look back on it, I think it's amazing the focus that younger people have, and they can pull off some pretty incredible things, all young people. Yeah. That I really appreciate the opportunity that this community gave me originally. I mean, they put a lot of faith in you when you present a proposal like this. First of all, it's like they don't know if I can do it because they themselves don't know how to do it, and it's not like building a house, or it's completely outside the realm of a normal construction project. And so the committee and the community, when I got this commission, it turns out that they put a lot of faith in you that this thing will be completed, because it's very complex, in fact, and it is monumental in scale. So it's not a little trinket. So I was very pleased to get the commission, and I was very pleased to find out that I could actually pull it off. People's opinion of the work, as I said, it's art, that goes all over the place. So after that, but it's here. And at this point, 40 years.